Would you prefer a majority or minority government?
Well, to me it doesn't matter as long as they're performing some kind of function without too much scandal. Minority governments do work if they have a lot of cooperation, but a majority obviously gets things done.
Always majority.
Why?
Why? Well, it's easier to make decisions in the interests of most people.
But currently, the way things are, I would go for a majority government to push the agenda and definitely public opinion. That matters. What you guys are doing here, make sure that people understand that what people's mind, right? So yeah, I mean, majority may work well during the circumstances. That's my personal opinion.
Minority government. And the reason is that the minority government has to make a deal with other small groups. So basically, it's not like a dictatorship that one party rules for 4 years and ignores others. So they have to listen for other people.
My preference would be a majority government, to think that there's more action done. My politics don't skew to the right or the left, but I think between the Liberals and the Conservatives, if it is a Liberal minority, it skews to the left, and we have to think about Alberta resources.
Majority government, just for stability in the government, especially in this time of pandemic.
Yeah, and you want to just the pandemic or just?
The pandemic, and then to have like a solid platform for the entire country to go forward.
Probably a minority government. This way it keeps everybody in check. I just wish the Liberal government had a minority government, so this way they were really kept in check right now. But somehow they're playing the political game and managed to operate as a majority right now.
Majority would be better, yeah, I think.
And why so?
Well, because then there's no screwing around. You know, nobody's wondering who's in charge. It's like, we got this. You know, like, just don't ask me which party because I couldn't tell you. But yeah, no, I think it should be a majority.
In some sense, a minority government would be good, but then you get all this backlog of bureaucracy. You get this backlog of nothing being able to get passed through the House. So it's a pick your poison type of thing, I guess.
Majority government.
And why do you think so?
Because I think it facilitates the decision-making process.
I tend to prefer minority governments. I'm an expat from the States where there's a whole different system and it's not a concept. I think minority governments really take advantage of the parliamentary system and kind of enable and support cross-party collaboration, which I think helps.
A small majority, you can still get everything passed, but still have to be accountable.
It's not necessarily who's in power, it's more a question of stability. I think when somebody wins an election, they ought to have the opportunity to carry out their mandate for a reasonable period of time, because a year, in my view, is just not enough. So I think in Canada, when we've had minority governments, we've had that. So I have no preference on a minority or majority government. Canadians know that best through their votes.
I prefer minority, because then if it's a majority, whatever they say goes, and that's not fair to the Canadian citizens.
I'm always torn on that, because I like the idea of many voices, but I think it slows everything down too, so it's harder to get things done. However, right now I think everyone needs to be heard, so probably minority.
Probably minority, because it kind of keeps them in line. I don't think there should be a fall election, not with what's going on. Doesn't make sense. Hopefully they wait and we'll see.
A minority. Because then they can't do just exactly what they want without some kind of oversight. But I just might add, I think if they pulled an election at this time, it would be unconscionable. It would just be not what anybody I know wants.
That's a difficult question to say. So, I think the Liberals have done so much damage, and the NDP is, just positioning themselves to keep their number of seats and so forth. So it's an awkward question. But whoever's in is going to have a very difficult time covering the finances, the overspending, it's going to be disastrous in the long run. So maybe a conservative majority would be best for the country, regardless of which party you think you should support. As the Liberals have shown that it's a disaster, the way they've governed and all the scandals that are swept under the carpet.
In either case, I would look for a majority right now to help everything sail through where it never has needed items to be passed, et cetera, and more people on the same page, so to speak, than ever before.